Okay, sorry for the background noise, but I live near a freeway, and so this is a freeway sound wall. But I want to go over a little thing just to show I do live in the city, and that's because I can't make money very well out in the backwoods, out in the middle of nowhere. And fucking dog, shut up. And that's another one of the problems. So I have difficulty making videos out here. And but I wanted to show a little bit where scavenging construction materials can have a payoff as long as you don't have an angry dog barking at you, which makes the backyard virtually unusable for anything social. But in gathering building materials and leftover stuff, I mean, it's just one of the realities of trying to do the backwoods retreat stuff on a budget, and it's also one of the variables that I run into in cost of construction, because a lot of times if I'm doing a little remodel work or refitting something, I get materials, but obviously it's in small amounts. It's just the overage on relatively small projects, and it's just one of the things that if you live in a city and you're building the country place or the small cabin thing, and you're trying to use salvage or recycled material, I really don't like using recycle that much, but I do use leftover from projects and things like that. Then you can be a little better off. It's just that the storage gets to be an issue, and so I've got a situation where I've got a landlord who wants me to move this stuff, so I got to move it. But I just hate to see like a good solid core door go to waste. This I got from a site that was being remodeled, and they had this door left over. We do have places here in Portland where you can donate leftover material and then purchase it back, which makes no sense to me because I have to purchase it all back at retail. It's not like I can get store credit and then get other material back, and a lot of this stuff is cost prohibitive to have to go and buy. So like this steel mesh stuff, courtesy of a big box store that was getting their displays changed out. I'm very, very thankful to the folks at Best Buy Corporate for letting me at that, for being able to use this rather than it all just getting dumped. And so we're going to be using that on some projects in the upcoming stuff. I think I've got about 30 of these panels, and they're going to be useful in a lot of projects. So for the guys that wondered what they look like, we're discussing it a little bit in a forum. Some of them I think are 6.5 or 7 foot by about 3 or 3.5 foot, and then the others are roughly 3 foot by 5-ish. I think it's kind of an odd shape because they were using fillers in store displays, which are all getting changed out for some other stuff, and it's just not worth it for the company to warehouse that stuff. It's not worth it to pay to have it warehoused. There's another company here in Portland called First Inc., where by the time they charge somebody for warehousing store fixtures and office furniture, it just it's barely worth it. So I can end up with this stuff, but this is a once in a year find right here, really. But this is what's more common, some flats, some boards, some metal. The latter I own. This thing here was a tomato tree project with hanging stuff. Kind of had varying levels of success on that, and I would say varying levels in mostly not real good. So, but here's a little bit on the collecting of construction materials. And part of the lesson I wanted to talk about on that is that if you're doing things as a group, as a team, chances are some guys come up with some materials, other guys come up with other materials, and then after you get the materials, you can figure out what you're going to do with them. And in that sense, that's kind of how it pays more to have more people on these projects than having to go it alone. And if somebody doesn't want to help participate in that, well, fine, but it gets a little tricky to factor what the actual cost and value is on salvage and scavenged materials when we're doing a small build or an off-grid project, because we may never have the opportunity again to get that same type of material for that same type of money. So if I'm giving somebody a quote or a bid based on being able to build something, and they insist on salvage materials for fashion reasons because they want to be kind of eco-cool, we just got to realize that stuff isn't always available, and we may not always be able to get it. But if we have, you know, larger groups and somebody who's got this stuff or wants to give it or donate it or you know, gather it someplace, there's a bit of work involved with that, and sometimes it's worth your time and sometimes it's not. In this situation, I actually had to take some other stuff to a dump yard, recycle yard, just to make room for it on my cargo trailer. And I had to triage that based on, you know, what's this worth versus the stuff that I threw away. And, you know, that's just part of what you deal with when you're doing that. And then within your group, if you gather all this at one location, you then try to make good, fair, adult decisions on trading the material around or working on group projects on, you know, what's going to be a group item. Like a lot of this material, I think, is going to probably end up being used to make animal pens. Part of it's going to be a basket system for a cargo trailer so we can carry bulk material. And at least one piece of that's going to be the basis for a roof rack carrier basket for the Isuzu Trooper you see in some of the other videos. I'm probably going to use one of the larger pieces for a rooftop carrier and then maybe cut up another larger piece for the sides of it. You know, that's probably what's going to happen. But we've got a couple of vehicles I want to make roof racks for. It's probably what we'll do with the larger pieces. So, you know, a little bit of lesson on that as far as gathering construction materials. Yeah, there is a dynamic to deal with that when you've got a survival group thing you're putting together and people come up with something useful. This is a rototiller under here. I bought it several years ago at an auction place. It's been rebuilt several times. It's an old Sears Craftsman unit that I'm probably going to have to rebuild again. The barbecue grill was given to me, and it's going to get hauled up. So, you know, as I make constant trips on a regular basis up to the retreat area or over to the retreat area, that's just part of the reality, okay? And fortunately, you know, I have this little cargo trailer that I built for that. It's a flatbed, but we're going to be doing a build for an enclosure that's removable, a couple of different enclosures. So these are common things to deal with as you coordinate a group and a group retreat.